Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Super Bowl Sunday here at the Hotel Orloff here in scenic Rural Retreat, Virginia. We're using the elevator today. Gonna have to be moving some things up and down, and I don't know. We're just so excited about the Super Bowl this evening. It just I just can't stand it. Well, yesterday I was speaking of super. Yesterday we were looking at some Superman comics, and we were rudely interrupted by the fact that the cell phone that I recorded the show on ran out of memory. So that's what happened there. We'll get back to that. First, let me start off the show with a request that I keep forgetting, and I've forgotten over the span of about 10 episodes. And the request was to show a mask, a Halloween mask. And, well, look, there's Pete the cat. How you doing, Pete the cat? And so here we have these blow mold Christmas choir kids, and I put a pig mask on this guy and my father's army hat. But this here is just a creature from the Black Lagoon mask that you could get. I think I got it like at a supermarket around Halloween time back probably in the 1990s. So the request was from Kevin Johnson, the owner and proprietor of Gotham City Comics and Collectibles in Mesa, Arizona. Wanted to see these creature masks, which can't possibly be that valuable, I wouldn't think. I mean, if I was to get my paints out and paint it, I guess I could make it look better. But I guess it's a respectable mask, for probably cost less than $5. And I think the one that he was asking about, though, was this one, which I think is from the same mold. I mean, I could double check, but it's molded in a different, it's painted differently, or it's at least got different plastic. And we could tell by looking for these two little zits, whether these two zits are on the other mask. Anyway, I've made it Christmassy, and that Christmas hat stays on them all year. And this is ostensibly a mask, but there are no eye holes in it, so it's really meant for display, based on the vampire girl that you always saw, mask that you always saw advertised back in the 1960s monster magazines. So that's that. I finally remembered, Kevin. Sorry. My memory is not what it used to be. Let's go see if he has the same two zits on his chin. I'm betting he does. And it looks, well, I don't know, man. They looks like they're there. Let's try for these three right by his eye. I'm just wondering if this is the same mold or if it's a completely different mask. Right, Drew the dog? They aren't there. This is a completely different mask. Unfortunately, the lighting's not very good. See if I can. I could take it down and get the manufacturer or something if that's. I'm just a little too lazy to do that. But anyway, nice paint job on the eyes. So here's the latest news in the Des Moines Register. Des Moines is where my package is. My Valentine present is in Des Moines, being shipped back and forth between the distribution center and the network distribution center. Supposed to arrive tomorrow. We will see. If it does, I'll unbox it and I'll do a quick show. It might not be. Yeah, I'll do a quick show. Doing shows on weekday nights is, as the idiots say, problematic. It's even hard for me to do the Wednesday 4-color fossil show. It's just that because I usually spend that time with my wife, and Drew the dog. How are you doing, Drew the dog?
Running for president, but again, Trump is going to destroy these people. And I do believe Trump wants the Obamas front and center. Let's go back to post 4014. It says change of batter coming. Why was she saved from officially announcing?
Okay, well, it's a beautiful day. Beautiful day for a Super Bowl. How about that Taylor Swift? What a beautiful angel. My gosh, and what a singing voice she has. Obviously, that's sarcasm. I don't see any. To me, she looks like Napoleon Dynamite with a wig on. And, you know, I mean, I don't know. I was, maybe if I was born in, I don't even see how people younger think. Because even the people that used to be made fun of, how is she made billions of dollars? And Olivia Newton-John, I don't think she made billions of dollars. Her voice was so much better. There's so many. It's just like, why wasn't Susie Sue a billionaire, or Patsy Cline, or Loretta Lynn? I mean, what? I don't know. I like that David Nino Rodriguez, the boxer, conservative boxer commentator on YouTube and whatever, he calls the team the Kansas City Swifts. Can't shake that cough, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what we can do. Okay, well, let's go upstairs. I have nothing. When is this disc going to be?
And you can see it is working. And the deep state players,
all right. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to go to the basement and load up some books. That's why I was actually on the elevator. I stopped on this level just to look at the creature from the Black Lagoon masks. So, let's head on back down. Because I'm trying to... Until I can afford to buy some bookcases, I look on Facebook Marketplace all the time for bookcases. And when I can find some bookcases, then I'll be able to get all these extra books that I have stacked up. But in the meantime, I'm going to put a lot of these books stacked up in a closet instead of just piled up around the house. And there's some books down here in the basement I need to take up to the 3rd level. That's my goal. Back behind me, that's the door to the garage. Okay, we're now down in the subterranean level, the basement. Okay. This had been rented out as an apartment for a good while to people. Okay. Yeah, how am I going to do this with this? Oh, man. Pain in the neck. Let me show you this. Not this. This is a Batman puzzle, but it's just in the way to what I really want to show you. Not that it's bad or anything. What I wanted to show you is this box for this present I got back in the 70s. It's called the High Hopping Humdorm. Just pump him up with air. He's the craziest creature that's ever been there. Anyway, I've got the box. And I think the pump is still, the pump's still in there. But for some reason, this toy has disappeared and is no longer in my collection. And so this is something I really need to reacquire. And I look on eBay, and you can find these things on eBay. The High Hopping Flume Dorm. So, I really just need, I've got the box, I got the pump, I really just need the actual Whom Dorm. Okay, well, let's take some of these books upstairs. Before some cat pisses on them or something horrible happens. So, you're going to be enjoying the Super Bowl, aren't you? It's just such a wonderful event. You have all your popcorn and nachos ready. It's just like, who will win? And I don't know, man. It's one of those things that you're not supposed to say as a man. You're not supposed to admit that you don't like sports. Now there used to be a talk show host back in the late 70s in Dallas on WFAA 570 AM. His name was Dick Syatt. And he started the I Hate Sports Club. And all these men had the courage to, it's almost like joining AA or something. It's like, yeah, I always have hated sports too, but I was afraid to tell anyone because it's just, you don't seem manly. You're supposed to like sports. But I just, I don't know. Okay, years ago at a library sale, they were selling off all these old Newsweeks and Time magazines bound into books. And I bought a bunch of them, and I found them fascinating, but they're heavy, and you gotta have book shelving to store them, and I shouldn't be doing this with, okay. Godfrey Daniels. Oh, speaking of Godfrey Daniels, am I still recording? Dang it. Yes. You know, W.C. Fields could not say GD, you know, which I probably shouldn't say on here either, since this is a family program. But you know, the real Taylor, the astronaut in Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston, you know, when he was on the beach and he saw that ruined Statue of Liberty buried up to its chest in the sand. He says, "You blew it up." And he says, "GD, you all to hell." Anyway, W.C. Fields, you know, obviously in the 30s couldn't say GD. So he came up with a substitute. He'd go, Godfrey Daniels, whenever he was frustrated. Which we were all supposed to know was supposed to be that word that my mother said was one of the worst curse words you could say, because you're breaking the 10 Commandments, taking the Lord's name in vain. But somehow she interpreted that as the only taking the Lord's name in vain is to say God with the word damn after it. But technically, whenever you stub your toe and you say Jesus or God, that's taking the Lord's name in vain, because you're upset and angry. You're not saying it in a happy way. So there was a guy that I knew in high school. He was kind of like a Ned Flanders, and he'd get upset if we said gee whiz. Well, I never said gee whiz or geez or gee whiz or gee or golly. He said those are all taking the Lord's name in vain, because geez and gee whiz, that's just basically Jesus. And you know, and then you think, okay, this guy's nuts. And then you realize, okay, the guy's actually right. These are words that were come up with so that kids back in the 1800s or whatever could say these things without getting their mouths washed out with soap or disciplined. But anyway, whew, How about this Citizen Kane angle, man? Orson Welles came up with that idea of cutting holes in the floor so that the camera could be actually at the level of the floor, so you're looking up at Kane. Leni Riefenstahl did it too in Olympia. She was she would have been the problem with Leni Riefenstahl, she's got some things going for her, that she was an amazing filmmaker and she was a woman filmmaker and but the problem is she was making films for Hitler's regime. So therefore I don't know if they teach her in film school anymore, but I doubt they do. But back in the 60s, they still were in places like UCLA, and guys like George Lucas or dogs eating the cat food. They would see these Leni Riefenstahl films, and because when she filmed Olympia, the Olympics that was held in Hitler's Germany, she got the camera down. They dug trenches and had these cameras on wheels that could go right along with the runners, but looking up at the runners to make them look like Greek gods. And of course, the spectacular scene at the end of their first Star Wars, where they get the medals in the throne room, is right out of Leni Riefenstahl. But it's one of those things. So, I'm sorry, but when I do my shows now, I'm just starting to actually do work while I'm doing the show. And I'll talk with you, but I don't have time to sit at a desk and play around, man. My life has actually gotten a little busier. So, I told my wife, I want to watch the Super Bowl, because I actually hate football, but I want to watch the Super Bowl just so I'll have something to make fun of, and to see the commercials. And there's a Deadpool commercial, and apparently the new Deadpool movie is going to be called Deadpool and Friend. And I just saw that. Everyone's upset. They say, that's not a cool title. It should be Deadpool and Wolverine. Anyway, apparently it's going to be called Deadpool and Friend. So, who cares, man? Oh, look. Here's sports. It's a Mattel basketball game. How about that? How about that, ladies and gentlemen? How about that one? Some more books that need to be taken upstairs. To Kill a Mockingbird. Oh, there's a Lone Ranger book. What's that doing down here in the basement? I'm going to put you down, guys, right next to the high-hopping Humdorm, because I just can't move these books while you guys are giving me trouble today. This tripod, I need a new tripod. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Look, it's a Batman walkie-talkie, ladies and gentlemen. I have this in case the apocalypse happens. I'll be able to contact people. So who's this guy that's dating Taylor Swift? What's his name? Travis Wammack or something? Travis Kelso or something like that. I guess somebody's got to date Taylor Swift. She's just so adorable. Okay. Taylor Swift, superstar. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Here are more walkie-talkies for the apocalypse. And they really work. Use kite cord or ordinary heavy thread. That's what the Army does. They use those. Okay. Drew the dog, come back. Let's go this way. Vamos. Il tato netwa. Water, Peter, come. Come in, Saswan. Wala suta pata. I'm speaking ancient Sumerian to my dog. Okay. So we're heading on into the elevator. This is how about this, man? It looks like bloody handprints on this door. And do you know what they used to do in this basement? Do you know? Come here, Drew. And this used to be a funeral home from 1950 to 1972, so they were probably embalming bodies down here. Isn't that spooky, Drew? Come on, spooky Drew. We're going upstairs. Okay, you gonna come with us, man? Yep, she's coming. Come on in to the show that never ends, Drew. We're taking books upstairs. Well, let's turn this light off so that Greta Thunberg will not shed a single solitary tear. Okay, Drew, we're going up. We're going up to the. We're going up to the second. We're going up to the first floor, also known as the second floor, because if you count the basement as the first floor, then the first floor becomes the second floor. Yes, indeed. And here, of course, is the door to the floor. It's the door to the floor where we hang out, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the doorknob. But it's not like a real elevator that stops on its own. I gotta use these cables to get man. There we go. All right, Drew, forward. How about that? It's a lot easier than hauling up long boxes up these stairs, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me.
This is 1/10 the number that walked across Joe Biden's open border in 2023. 3.2 million, the highest number.
Okay.
In their poll numbers, well, you see that the people aren't buying this.
This guy's not very politically correct on X22. He's calling them illegal aliens instead of undocumented workers, or whatever they call them, migrants. How dare he? I've heard people say, "Why are you calling me an alien? I'm not from outer space." Just, well, okay, whatever. Because words can mean more than one thing, possibly. Yes, we think you're a space alien, possibly. Okay, well, let's get this football party started. We're already 25 minutes into this, and we haven't played any football music. What's going on? What's wrong with us? Football. There we go. Ben Burney and All the Lads from 1933. Of course, YouTube has to put on a commercial. YouTube has kicked in the commercials like insanely. Absolutely. And whenever they go to a commercial, it has to think, and the little thing spins. It's just completely, they've turned YouTube in just a total piece of shit. All right. All right. There we go. This is Drew's favorite song. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, technical difficulties. Okay, let's see what the weather's like outside. Obviously, I'm trying to avoid going up to the comic room as okay. Let's see what the weather's like. Yeah, it's in the early. It's in the early 30s. It's in the low 30s outside. You know, I drink Dr. Pepper and I'm proud. I used to be alone in a crowd, but now it seems different these days. There seems to be a Dr. Pepper craze. I'm a pepper. Drew's a pepper. Everyone I know's a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? I love the echo on this. That's pretty darn creepy. Okay. I also need to go through some CDs, man. I also need another storage cabinet. I've got so many CDs. Although I realized I haven't bought hardly any CDs in years because very few. Whoa, wrong way. Because I think because of YouTube, it's just music is just available. You know, like how easy was it to find that song "Football Hero"? I just type it into YouTube. Before, I'd have to seek it out and go to record stores and find some it would have been hard. Computers, I don't know how musicians make any money anymore. Okay, so we're coming up to the 3rd floor. How about that? See, this floor is a mess of books and stuff. And yeah, boy. Oh, look at this. I found this. I must have torn this out of the TV guide, which is I should never have done. But when this movie was coming on television, how exciting, huh? A Captain America movie. Little did I know until I tuned in that fateful night on CBS that it was not the Captain America that I was expecting. Yeah, the late 70s, was kind of the great disappointment when you realized, oh, this is how the Marvel characters are going to be handled on television. Okay. Well, let's extol the virtues of Mort Wessinger. There were 3 young men, all born around the same time, all born about 1915, which would have made them about 10 years old in 1925, and becoming teenagers in the late 20s, and these 3 teenagers were enthralled with, with plugging you guys in, man. they were enthralled with pulp science fiction. And so these three guys got together and put together a science fiction fanzine. And they talked to authors and stuff, found out what was coming up. It was early fandom, Comics didn't exist. So the nerds were into pulps. Comics would come along in a few years. And the three young men were Mort Wessinger, Julius Schwartz, and Forrest J. Ackerman. So, because they knew they had this fanzine going, and they talked to these authors and stuff, they started and they talked to the people running the magazines, and so let's say someone would write a science fiction story, a certain number of pages and about a certain thing, and and they would send it off to these publishing companies in New York, and sometimes they'd be rejected, and then it'd have to be sent all the way back to them in Podunk, Kansas, and then they'd have to send that manuscript to another pulp publisher, and so these young guys that, hey, why don't we put together like an agency where we're the go-between between the authors, the writers, and the pulps. So, you could send it off to this pulp, and then it'll come back to us, and we're in the same town as the pulp publisher, and then we can take it to another, or we'll know, okay, you've written this story, or we'll talk to the publishers and find out what stories they're looking for. We'll let you know what they're looking for and the page numbers, so we can, and then we get a 10%. We'll be authors' agents, basically, and they get a 10% cut. So they start doing that. These childhood friends, Julius Schwartz, Mort Wessinger, and Forrest J. Ackerman was doing that too. Forrest J. Ackerman, later would become the editor of Famous Monsters of Filmland. Mort Wessinger would become the editor of Superman between early 50s to about 1970 when he retired. But he was doing Superman in early 50s, and then he was a story editor for the Superman TV show, but by 58 he was supervising all the Superman titles, and he came up with the idea to do the Jimmy Olsen. He had the ideas, and his the Mort Wessinger era is the era that I love. He's the guy that came up with all the cool stuff, the different kinds of kryptonite, the Bottle City of Candor, the super cat, the super horse, the Legion of Superheroes. All of that stuff was from the Mort Wessinger era. And then, of course, all that was done away with Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that's why, people tell me, oh, the John Byrne era is great. Well, it might be to you, but to me, that era, which I didn't really live through because I was starting to buy comics about 1970 when Wessinger retired, but I would see these reprinted stories from that time period, and it's like, wow, this is great. And then I bought tons of comics from that time period, so that's the time period I love. Man, I understand that he was rude to waiters in restaurants, according to his son, and he was very rude to people, and he was like, no, you'll do it my way, because I know how the magazines sell. He was like J. Jonah Jameson, Mort Wessinger, in the national offices. National being DC. But I love him. Of course, Julius Schwartz was super important in bringing back the DC, the superheroes from the 40s as well. I gotta blow my nose. I still got half a cold. We haven't looked at any comic books yet. think I'll get a copyright claim for that Football Hero song? Can't be. It's a song from 1933. I wouldn't think so. All right. This is going to be bad on my back. I need some help. Oh, shit. There's just too much stuff around here, man. Here's a disc I made a long time ago. These are radio ear checks. Russ Knight, also known as the Weird Beard, on KILT Houston, Texas from June of 1965. This is him on the air for 43 minutes and 14 seconds. And I've got Bob McCord on the same station, July 1966, 23 minutes, 22 seconds. Then I've got some exploitation movie spots. So this is a ticket, a time machine ticket back to the mid-60s. I could put this on right now, except the music would get us copyright strikes or something. Especially if they play the Beatles. That's the... speaking of the Beatles, you all probably know the Ruddles, which was Neil Innes, who's considered the... Holy smoke! Look, I found a bunch of bags and boards. What's the matter, Drew the dog? Oh, shit. What's the matter, Drew? Shit. This is 6th grade. I interviewed this cartoonist, and he sent me this. We were supposed to write about what we want to do is interview someone that's doing what we want to do for a living someday. So I wanted to be a cartoonist in 6th grade, and the 6th grade teacher, Miss Wilson, I think her name was, said my son is a cartoonist. Then why wasn't her name? Oh, well, she must have gotten remarried because she didn't have the same last name. So anyway, I called up. She gave me his phone number. I called up this guy, interviewed him, wrote a report. His name is Bill Stokes. It says, to my friend Kenneth Weinert, thanks for the call, and I hope to see you soon. Keep on cartooning. I don't know if he ever made it anywhere. I think he was just an amateur cartoonist, but I don't think he did. As I've tried Googling him and got nothing. Here's some pictures I did in 3rd grade, possibly 4th grade. Look, there's Aquaman. Now you can tell I based it on I was looking at the Mego doll when I drew the head. Captain America, Green Goblin, Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic. Okay. I'm assuming that Alan the cat is on the bed and Drew is on the bed, or not, there's some war over the bed in the guest bedroom. I'm assuming, let me just check and make sure nothing's bad's going on. Oh, that's exactly what's going on. Okay. So Alan the cat is here on the bed. Drew the dog wants to get up on the bed. Drew, you can come up over here. Over here, the cat is not over here, Drew. You can get over here. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. Oh, God. Oh, my. Okay. I think Drew has given up. Okay, so we're going to look at some Action Comics during the editorial reign of Mort Wessinger. And he would do something that was done in the days of the pulps, where they would have a painting done first, and then they would commission a story based on the painting. It's like, we got this cool painting, now write a story for it, which is something in the 70s, Creepy and Eerie at Warren would do that same thing. How about that? You learn all kinds of boring shiza here on this channel. Okay, well, yesterday, love was such an easy game to play, but yesterday we saw this issue of Action Comics. Is there enough light? This is, let's take a look. It's in Happy Birthday, Supergirl. This one's in terrible condition, actually, like horrendous condition. What year is it from? Looks like 1960. How about that? And that's a date, believe that's equivalent to a date stamp. That's where they just write on it in grease pencil that this was received at the drugstore September, or it was put out on the stand September 26th. So, issue 283. Okay, so this is going to be right after comics went up to 12 cents from 10 cents. That's why the 12 cent price tag is so large, because they're trying to point out, hey, you know, we're 12 cents now. Yeah, we looked at all these yesterday. Watch yesterday's episode. You'll see these another time. I was going through, the reason I was going through these, I was trying to see if I had Action Comics 233. Turns out I don't have it. I run the surprise. So I need an issue 233, because I have one where like this much of the comic is gone, like eaten. And it looks like a really cool story. I'd like to read it, but this one's in pretty good shape. $2.94, so at least a tight copy. Some people consider this time period in Superman's history to be silly. And those people are idiots. They're probably the same people that like Taylor Swift. I don't know. Taylor Swift is wonderful. I need to be quiet. She's just great. $2.99. Ooh, it's got a date stamp. 1963, February 28th, 1963. $302. A Great New Adventure of Supergirl and Superhorse is in here as well. $305. You know, DC didn't formally become DC until 1977. Did you? Oh, another copy of the same issue. Until then, it was still National Periodical Publications, 306. But much earlier, they branded themselves as Superman DC Comics. I mean, as far as the way they referred to themselves. 307. Oh, the Phantom Zone, too, was a concept that Mort Wessinger came up with. This is a great cover. All my friends are here to congratulate me, but will anyone guess who is the man disguised as Clark Kent, my secret identity? Let's see. How many of you got the Legion of Superheroes? You even have the mermaid, Lori Lemuris, in the tank in the back there. I guess the tank's probably on wheels. They probably wheel the fish tank over to him. That'd be hard to go on a date with Lori Lemuris. She'd have to be in a fish tank, and you'd have to wheel her everywhere. Oh, I've got another copy, a beat-up copy with a chunk missing out of that one. Okay. 310. And all these different colored kryptonite rocks had different effects on them. It was a way that Superman, because Wessinger looked at it, that Superman, if he's completely invulnerable to anything, then how is that an exciting story? And he said, well, Batman's far more interesting because he can be hurt. So the idea of the different types of kryptonite that gave weaknesses to Superman, or Superman being stripped of his power. Oh, he also came up with the idea of the imaginary story, and everyone always jokes because they think they're funny. Well, aren't they all imaginary stories? Get it? Yes, but there were certain stories that were like, Marvel would later call them what-if stories, where they weren't part of the accepted canon of the... That's another one of those words I don't like using, like iconic and trope. But they were stories that didn't really happen. It was just fun to read. This is 316. 316 reminds me of John 3:16, which is a Bible verse that you need to read, and it reminds me we all need to pray more. I know I definitely need to pray more, and I have to why do I have to remind myself to do it? I gotta open this one. What is the deal with this one's in a bag with a bent corner? That drives me crazy. That doesn't seem like something I would do. Oh, I tried to do the Captain Strangelove method, right? Where you bend the tape over. He doesn't do it this way anymore, but he used to do it on his old episodes. He'd tell you to take the tape and bend it over, so see, I feel no stickiness, and I can just pull it down. It really is very effective if you can do it, but if you're not. But I always do it wrong, and I don't do it perfectly. See, now the book is free. You don't have, the tape is still on there. You can reuse the tape, except I don't do it right. Anyway, so I got to open this up and fix this atrocity. Oh, it's like half the book is folded over. The original owner of this comic is the one that's responsible for that. See, it's part of this damage is what caused that damage. Look at that, man. Don't ever use silly putty on your comics. I never did. Maybe I used it on Sunday Funnies or something. I don't know. Do they still have Sunday color comics in the Sunday newspapers anymore? I wonder. There's what the Lucky Charms leprechaun used to look like. Well, I've had several people, there was a message just popped up a second ago, something about some other guy admitting that he's never really liked sports either. Of course not, we're comic nerds, but most of the four-color fossils, they're all real men. They know all about sports, and especially wrestling. And it's like they can have these conversations. You know, Dirk Samudio scored 4,000 touch-ups in the 79 Super Bowl for the San Francisco Lions. You know, I don't know anything about these teams, but you know what's cool is I think it's cool that the Baltimore Ravens, is that a football team or is that a baseball team? I don't know. It's cool that there's a team named after The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe because, you know, he lived in Baltimore. I think that's cool. But the team should dress in all black, be real goth looking. The other team I like is like, I don't know who they are. They're the Pirates that have the emblem with the eye patch, you know, the football helmet, but he's a pirate. I think that's a cool mascot too. I used to really like the Cleveland Indians. I've got a bolo tie with the grinning Cleveland Indians. That team may have they may probably had to change their name, but it used to be this little Indian guy with a big grin, and I'm pretty sure that's been done away with. Anyway, see, now you no longer have that horrific, or horrific is my new term, horrific. 317. 317. Everyone always talks about John 3:16, but no one ever talks about John 3:17. I need to look up what John 3:17 is. Maybe it's pretty good too. Or is it just not nowhere close to, I mean, is John 3:16 like airplane, and John 3:17 is like Airplane 2, the sequel? You know, it's or is John 3:16 like X-Men Days of Future Past, and John 3:17 is like X-Men Age of Apocalypse? Possibly that's the case. Lots of blank space, and this one's number 319. That's of yellow. It's a very colorful prison, don't you think? Yes. I'm sorry. It's the Coward of Steel in Action Comics 322. Why am I wasting my time? I'll tell you what, the next episode I'll probably do right after this episode uploads. I'll go through my CDs. I'm just going to go through this one box. Let's see if I can finish this box. We're at 53 minutes, 52 seconds. Usually, here's 329. Usually, I can't record longer than like an hour and 6 minutes on here. Oh my gosh. It's the Diabolical Dr. Supernatural, 330. The devil's got this little bat chicken holding Superman hostage here. Oh, another thing that Mort Wessinger came up with is the big thick annual edition, big thick square bound reprinting old stories. That's another thing Mort Wessinger came up with. And then Julius Schwartz, his childhood friend, replaced him in 1970 as the editor of the Superman titles, and Julius Schwartz stuck around until about 1986, and by 1986 there was nothing good left in comic books. I don't know. People say good things happened after that time period. I'm sure a few things did, but I would occasionally buy comics to see him. No, they really didn't. I just like the old stuff. 339. This is not my childhood. This is my older brother's childhood, these comics. And I think it's a wonderful time. The 1960s was a wonderful time, except for a horrible war that we got involved in thanks to LBJ, and basically Democrat presidents kind of created the problems in the 60s. I guess to be a little 10-year-old kid in the mid 60s would have been a great time, except I think as a 10-year-old kid I would have been aware and really worried, what if this war keeps going on and I get to be, close to, when I get to be 18, I just, I can't even imagine being in a war. And my father was in 2 wars, the Vietnam War and the Korean War. I mean, that's just something I can't even imagine. We're up to 350 now. Anyway, that is 352. There's a big live broadcast tonight where they're going to be showing off Western comics on the Night Tiger channel. This one has a date stamp, August 7th, 1967. Huh. Well, I'm humming because August 7th and the date is September. Well, it's the beginning of August. Comics are usually about 2 months. They come out about 2 months before the date that's printed on them, giving them more time on the stand. 365. Oh, they got a gang of biker types, except they're more biker guys like the early 50s kind of biker guys like Marlon Brando in The Wild One or Eric Von Zipper in the Beach Party movies. By this time period, the bikers had long hair and were a lot more scraggly. Oh, this is when things change. That was 357. Okay, look. 357. And then 358. It looks very different. The Neil Adams era hits, where the art style changes to become more realistic, and I got 2 copies of that, and I'm not selling one of them, by the way. The stories try to be more relevant around this time period. That's him. He's the man who killed my daddy. I'm sorry. That shouldn't be funny. It should be tragic. Here's 360. Now, this one, the front cover doubles as a game board. This is just one of the most beautiful things that you could possibly imagine. This purple cover, and look at all the cool things. Lois becomes fat. Lose 1 turn. Why would you go in a comic store and buy modern comics when you can go into the back issue bins and pull that out? Oh, Superman's funeral. In split seconds, my space coffin will speed into the hottest sun in the universe. Goodbye, Lois, Lana, Lori, Supergirl. So they all just, they're all just, even though they're his ex, Lois is his current girlfriend. Supergirl's his cousin, but Lana and Lori are ex-girlfriends, and yet they're just considered to be like a harem. It's like he's saying. I don't know. If you're on your deathbed, do you bring in your ex-girlfriends to say goodbye to them? I don't know. I sure wouldn't. I don't know. It's one of those things. This sounds better. Yeah, here. See, it's August. See, and then the date stamp says June 25th. Well, it's the end. It's almost July. So maybe we should say the comics are about a month and a half, dated about a month and a half after the time they hit the stands. Superman, the one, the only, the original is dead. One of you Kandorians will take his place on Earth if you have what it takes. That's interesting. That's a far more interesting story than when they killed Superman with a stupid character called Doomsday. Man, that was the lamest, and everybody bought into it, and they lined up at the comic stores. What was that, in about 93 or 92 that they staged that stunt? It looks like I have 2 copies of that one. A lot of stories around this time period were Superman or the Flash or whatever, they're washed up, they're dead, they're bums on a bench, they're skeletons, they're just not, you're not needed anymore, Superman, the world's gone beyond you, you know, that kind of thing. It's because they're trying to sell these comics. They figure, well, these kids, these young hippies, these counterculture kids aren't going to want a star-spangled, all-American kind of character. They're going to want someone that's, they're going to want to see them humiliated. I don't know what they were thinking. Here's 372, a wrestling cover. I'm glad he has a mask on. No one could ever tell that he's Superman. You can immediately spot a Neil Adams cover. The really valuable Neil Adams covers are going to be the ones that are on Batman comics. Superman is the dictator of Earth. From this moment on, there is no more United Nations. My Superman banner will replace all other flags. I'm taking over the whole world. There's a lot of these Superman dictator issues. I wish he would take over, man. I've got 2 copies. He'd probably do a good job. The Immortal Superman, breaking his kryptonite chains. A lot of covers where Superman's an old man also. This was always a nutty cover. Boy, this was not in too good a shape. It's 388 with... What's wrong with this cover? This is not an April Fool's story. All this stuff you can name that's wrong. Oh man, there's so many things I want to do. I don't want to just look at Action Comics today. I didn't show you any of that other stuff that I was doing. How about I stop before I get to Adventure Comics? Because I've shown you the Adventure. Yeah, but I want to look at Adventure. I'll do Adventure again soon, maybe next weekend. You remind me. If you want to look at my Adventure Comics collection. This is cool. A girl mightier than Superman. Oh, now he's a super panhandler in a wheelchair. Lois is married. Jimmy's a big wheel. All my friends gone. The world doesn't need me anymore. And then special 400th anniversary issue. They don't, you know, make a big, they don't make as big a deal as they would now over an anniversary issue. It's just like, well, it's mentioned up above the logo. But and of course, these boxes back here are Silver Age. So to me, the Silver Age goes up through the 48 page, 25 cent, and I think then they try to move it up to 50. Yeah, then they move it to 52 pages for a quarter, and kids still aren't buying. It's still, the price point is the problem. It's not how many pages you give us. So soon they'll drop it down to 20 cents like Marvel's doing. I'm covering up the part. See, it looks just like the, what were their names on the Super Friends? Jan and, why can't I remember the Wonder Twins? It's Jan and whatever the heck his name is. Wonder Twin powers activate. It's not the same character. Oh, that's another thing I loved was the giant key that he would use to open the door to the Fortress of Solitude, which is another Mort Wessinger thing. Of course, at this point, we're past Mort Wessinger's. We're into the Julius Schwartz time period. In 412, everything after this is going to be a 20-cent Action Comics, so they would be over on this side of the room. Okay, all right. So much for that. Let's look at some of the other things I was pulling out of the basement. You never even saw what I was doing, so I'll show you that now. Where's my music?